Okay, so here we are, week 4, our final week. I guess it's important to talk a little bit about makeup work. Tonight's Monday, so you have till Saturday, the end of the night, to make up any work that you might want to make up. Very important that you understand that. I'm not in a position where I can go beyond that as far as giving extra time. I just don't have the ability to do that. So whatever is finished, completed by the end of the day, Saturday night, is in fact what will be graded. So with that being said, I want to point out that we have live session tonight. We have live session tomorrow night. If you're able to come in tomorrow night, I will be more than happy to work with you on any part of the project that you would like to work on. Totally up to you. If you can get here, great. We'll work on whatever you want to work on. And I will be in Blackboard Wednesday from 7 o'clock until 11 o'clock Mountain Time. And I will not be in Blackboard week 4 this week, which would be Friday. I'm not in Blackboard on Friday, but I am in fact in Blackboard again on Saturday from 7 o'clock until 12 o'clock. So, you know, if you want help, please, I'm more than happy to help you. I also have put into my announcements your learning coach, so that you can actually contact your learning coach if you have time that you would like to work with her. Also, I'll say to you this: you have my phone number, you have my email. If you want to contact me either through my phone call or via email and request some time to work with me, if I'm available at the time that you request, I will certainly try to work with you. It all comes down to my availability, whether or not I have the ability to choose the time or to work with the time that you choose. But you certainly can ask. The bottom line is I would like to do anything and everything I can do to help you pass the course. So it really comes down to you now and what you do. So what I want to do tonight and tomorrow night, it depends on whether you come tomorrow night. If you come tomorrow night, you would like to work on your projects, I'd be more than happy to do that. What I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to start off by talking about our discussion, which is roles of advertising. Roles in advertising firms. So let's just very quickly go through the information here. Learning objectives covered. Identify. Oh, I'm going to close the mic off. We don't need this anymore. Or the video. We don't need that anymore. There we go. Okay. So learning objectives are to identify and define the general roles of account managers, creative art directors, graphic designers, production artists, and copywriters in an advertising agency or design firm. I believe what they're interested in is trying to find out what you know and what you don't know about these people and the roles that they play within their company and their work. So we're going to be talking about that tonight first. There's a lot going on behind the scenes at a mid to large size advertising firm, and more than just designers working on campaigns. There are art directors, account executives, copywriters, media buyers, and more, all working together with the client. For this week's discussion, we will examine more closely the roles that make up a full-service ad agency. You're going to research and find at least 4 roles that exist in advertising agency. Choose 2 of those roles to discuss what they do in the agency, what interaction they have with the client, and how involved they are in the conceptual and design process. Later on, after we read this, I'm going to go through the agency. I have a graphic that I found, and we're going to go through the agency roles, and I'm going to describe a lot of it to you. So it should give you some idea of what they do and how they interact. Discuss why you chose these two positions, and if that may be a position you would like to pursue after you graduate. For your citation, you might use ad agency websites that list their key employees and their positions. You can also find articles from job boards and labor statistics that describe the positions and what they do. Truly, you're not going to have any trouble finding information on this. You'll have no trouble whatsoever. You could look up roles within an advertising agency, work roles within an advertising agency, and I guarantee you'll get articles that will more than suit what you have to do here. Your initial and reply post should work to develop a group understanding of this topic. You'll basically communicate with me for your replies. As far as your initial post, you'll put your initial post in, and I'll be more than happy to comment on your initial post, and you can comment on my post and back and forth and so on. You only need 2 replies anyway, so and be respectful. We don't need that. We know that. Be respectful and discuss this, and we know that already. All right, so the reply requirements. Per the due dates and participation requirements of the course, you must submit your main post 200 words, 2 APA citations, and references, as well as 2 follow-up posts of 50 words. Responses can be added or can be addressed to both your initial thread and any other thread, but it must be in your own words, no copy and paste. Each reply unique, no repeating something you already said, and substantial in nature. Remember that part of the discussion is submitting on time, 20%. So the problem that we have here is that if you don't submit on time, you're going to lose 20% of your grade. If you don't submit at all, you get no grade. So just keep that in mind. And of course, you've got APA, a sample in Sharp, and there's also course media for your week assignments right here, which I'll let you deal with. Okay, so moving down, I basically came up with a statement to get us started. What I did was I went online, and I don't know, for some reason I'm not seeing both of these, but you know, I don't think it matters too much because really, let me see if I can't really get it to, see if I can get both of them on. No, I can't. It doesn't matter because basically what this is we're talking about, there's a brand leader for brand team 1 and a brand leader for brand team 2, and there's your creative people for the teams. So what I'll do is I'll just discuss the branching from the brand team 1. We'll talk about all this first. This will give you some idea of what this agency is all about, all right? Just going under the assumption that brand team 2 is largely the same, okay? So at the top of the tree is the CEO. The CEO generally is either a person who has founded the agency and has quite a bit of the skill and abilities that all of these people have, and has made contacts in the industry and has a good reputation, and people want to work with him, and he has the ability to sit down and talk his way through the process of gaining accounts, gaining clients. So he goes off on his own and he creates an agency. Or it could be somebody that was placed as the CEO position by somebody who might have retired, or who is, like, for instance, if a wife owns an agency that a husband owned and he passes away, leaving the agency to her, and she doesn't want to run the agency, she could hire a CEO. So essentially the CEO is a person that does most of the difficult work of dealing with the accounts at the topmost level. Okay, they are the ones that are responsible for getting the accounts, keeping the accounts, making sure that they're getting the most money that they can get without losing the account. That's essentially what the CEO does. Then you have brands. Each brand represents one client. That's essentially what we're talking about here. So we have a brand and we have a brand team 1, or a brand team. The brand team is basically led by a brand leader. The brand leader is a manager. The guy has the ability to manage everybody below him. He knows just about everything about what everybody else is doing. Now, he may not know every single nuance that everybody would know, but he knows generally enough, and he has a very good ability to manage things. So this is your brand leader. He's the one that kind of keeps everybody on track, making sure that everything gets done the way it's supposed to get done. Deliveries are made, that information gets passed correctly. If there's any problems, it ends up on his desk, and he's the one that's going to figure out really how to deal with it. So, and he reports to the CEO, obviously. So the CEO is primarily his boss, and he's more or less the head of the team for this particular brand. You have two secondary people, the client rep and the creative rep. In my experience working in ad agencies, the people that I've worked for and the agencies that I've worked for, usually the client rep and the creative rep were one and the same. But essentially what's the difference between the two is that the client rep is the person who faces the account on a daily basis to either bring back material from the account that will help the creative team bring to life whatever the project might be. And the client rep is also the one who's responsible for bringing the creative to the client, which happens a number of times as the process of developing any particular singular project works. The client rep would then bring the client's information. If this is the starting stage of a project, the client rep will meet with the client, will go over the parameters of the project, we'll make notes as to some of the goals and some of the things that the clients and their stakeholders within the company, that the brand, I should say, what they would like to see happen. He collects all that data, all that information, all those notes, all those suggestions, all of it, brings it in, and then has a meeting with the creative rep. He then transfers all that information to the creative rep. Problem I have with that situation is we are now 2 steps away from the client. Instead of being 1 step away from the client rep to the direct expert and the media expert, okay? And instead of being 1 step away, we're 2 steps away. In other words, the client gives the information to the client rep. The client rep gives the information to the creative rep. Now, the problem with this, like I say, is that if the client rep isn't absolutely dead on, 100% certain with everything he tells the creative rep, then we could run into a problem. So again, and the client rep the creative rep more than likely did not meet with the client. So the creative rep doesn't have the ability to look the client and the stakeholders in the eye and get direct feedback from them. He's getting indirect feedback from the client rep. So basically, this is the biggest problem that I see with this. So then we have the distributor rep and the consumer rep. I'm not very familiar with those two because of the agencies that I've worked with. They didn't really have these at least not that I was aware of. They have direct experts and a media expert, okay? Now, what these guys do is they handle account services, like advertising, direct mail, PR, and digital advertising. That's what they primarily do. And then you have the media experts. The creative director handles advertising, direct, collateral, and digital. So basically what I would have encountered is I would have encountered the client rep and the media expert. The media expert would work in tandem, at least in my experience, the media expert worked in tandem with the creative director. It was the job of the media director, the creative rep, and the creative director to come up with, for any particular given project, the media direction, the creative direction, and the the necessary requirements for the client. All of these things would have been established in that meeting. The creative director then would have all of those resources. And what the creative director would do is he would pass that information down through the creative path beneath him. The creative path beneath him would be an art director, graphic designer, and production person. And how this would work primarily is you got a client rep who's giving information to the creative rep. Creative rep has that information. The media director or the media expert, creative rep, creative director sit down. They talk about the particular project, what sort of media will be employed, and the creative director will take the information provided by the creative rep and work it into a general creative concept. Now, this concept is sort of like a big picture concept, the fleshing out of the general idea of what it is that they're going to do. Once that's done, it would be handed over to an art director. The art director would take the information given by the creative rep, the media expert, creative director. The creative director will hand all that information over to the art director. The art director will then take that creative concept and he will literally put the creative concept into its final form. Now, he would do this in a very, very rough way, almost like an outline. At that point, what he would then do is he would hand it off to the designer. Now, the designer is given instructions as to what he is supposed to do, he or she is supposed to do. Usually, the graphic designer doesn't have complete freedom of range when they do this sort of work. There is a certain amount of creative leeway that the designer has, but the bottom line is that usually it's pretty precise what is going on, and it's not just the art director who is directing things, it's the creative director. So you've got two people above you, the creative director and the art director. Both of them have very specific goals that they want to achieve. It's your job as the graphic designer to understand those goals, make sure that they are met within the creative context of what you're designing. Because what's going to happen is you're going to design something and it's going to be handed back up to the art director, who will then in turn, if it's acceptable to him, hand it off to the creative director. Now, if it's acceptable to the creative director, what's going to happen is it's going to go back up through the creative rep, who will then make sure that it's okay with him. The client rep will then get the piece. Now, we're not talking about finished art yet. We're just talking about where we have taken this thing and produced a mock-up which will simulate what this final piece is going to be. The client rep will get it. If the client rep agrees with the creative rep that all the context, as far as he knows, has been met, he will then take that concept back to the client. If nothing has changed with the client, if the client is basically still in the same place as they are when the first meeting with the client rep took place, then it's very possible that your piece might be right on target and you can move right into production. However, it has been my experience that a lot of times what happens is over the course of even a short period of time, a number of days, a week, maybe two, people's motivation evolve. People's thinking evolve. The stakeholders have different thoughts on things, or second thoughts, or maybe have decided on something that they maybe felt they overlooked in the first meeting. So what they'll do is they'll generally take a look at the creative, and it's not that they're trying to be overcritical necessarily. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure that they have got everything that they need within the creative that they're getting. So what will invariably happen is there will be modifications that will take place. And what will happen, of course, is that these modifications will be noted by the client rep. The creative will come back, the modifications will come back with it. It will then be handed through the ranks. It'll be handed over to the creative rep, who will go over it and make sure that it's put together in a way that can be handed over to the creative director once more. And the creative director, at this point, unless the media director is sort of out of this for a short period of time right now, because unless there's a change of media content, in other words, or media direction, unless they've decided somehow that this media that they initially thought was going to go changes, the media the media expert has done his job right now. So more than likely, he will not be involved in this, at least not at this point. So the creative rep will take this the modification information and the original, bring it back to the creative director, who again will make sure he understands exactly what has to happen, hand it off to the art director. The art director will do one of two things, either work on it himself or hand it off to the designer. And of course, he will give the designer complete explanation as to what has to happen. The designer, as I say, more or less does the will of the creative director and the art director. I mean, there are even times when there are assistant art directors. There are times when there's so much work within a particular brand that some of the work goes through an art director and some of the lesser value work will go through an assistant art director. But it all ends up doing a similar thing. It ends up being passed on down the line to a designer, or there might be more than one designer. It all depends. Again, we're talking about different size ad agencies here. I have never been in a really huge ad agencies, but I've worked for a number of smaller ad agencies, and they all worked more or less the same way as I'm describing here. So as a graphic designer, what you're doing is you're interpreting what you're given by your art director, and you're trying to, at the same time, do the very best you can with it as far as, you know, being a designer. And one very important thing that should be mentioned here is that all of these people who are handling this brand will have a branding manual. Every one of them, the creative rep, the creative director, the art director, the graphic designer, and the production person. Every one of these people will have a branding manual. And since they are probably part of an ongoing process, a brand team process, they will be working repeatedly with that particular brand. So it's very important for them to come to understand clearly what that brand will allow and will not allow, and know when to employ things and what to employ and how to employ it. So it's very important. And probably over a period of time, we'll get to memorize much of it. Now, there's one other thing I didn't mention here, and that falls in place with the art director. Usually, there's a step between creative direction and art direction, and that is that there's what's known as a writer, a copywriter. Usually, what there is a copywriter who works in tandem with the creative director. The creative director will hand the general concepts over to a copywriter, and what the copywriter will do is he will prepare the actual copy that is going to be used in the presentation. Now, the art director may or may not have access to the actual copy that is being prepared by the copywriter, but that doesn't generally stop the art director. Generally, the art director and the graphic designer can mock up something using position type, which would give the client a pretty good idea of what their actual piece is going to look like. So while the copywriter is working on this, the art director and the designer and the creative director can still do what they have to do to pass this through. At some point, what will happen is the creative director will receive from the copywriter the copy that they are developing, and that will be passed up the line through the creative rep, who will take a look at it to make sure that they're satisfied that all the touch points that are required by the customer have been met. And if they have been, it'll be handed over to the client rep. It will then be brought up just like the creative mock-ups are brought up to the client. The client will take a look at the whole thing and make a decision whether or not they agree with everything that's done. If they do, they sign off on it, and that copy's ready to go. If they have a problem, what they will do is they will make some notes. They will make some sort of a notes. They'll set up a note system indicating where they want the changes, what those changes might be. be returned to the client rep, who will then bring it to the creative rep, who will then pass it over to the creative director. Creative director has beneath him the art director and the copywriter. The copywriter will then get the copy. They will make the modifications. Once that's done, it will be sent back up the tree out to the client, who will then, at some point, all the issues will be resolved, and what you'll have is final copy for the piece. In the meantime, the creative director will be working through the design with the art director and the graphic designer. Oh, hi, Casey. How you doing? Am I coming through okay?
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, very good.
Can you hear me?
I can certainly hear you. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just talking about the week 1 discussion. I'm going through the an ad agency, a typical ad agency. What a typical ad agency done is. Basically, I'm at the point now where, and you'll see this if you go in and watch the beginning of the video. I will. Yeah, I'm just talking right at this point about copy and how the copywriter and the art director work with the creative director right here. See, we're talking about brands, and this is brand team 1. I have brand team 2 here, but they're the same thing. So I'm just going through this process here. So we're talking about—
Perfect.
Huh?
I said perfect.
Yeah. So basically, we got a creative director, we got an art director, we got a copywriter. They both feed the information up the tree through the creative director, through the creative rep, who sends it over to the client rep, who takes it to the client. You believe me, when you watch what you've missed, you'll see where I am with this, and it'll make more sense to you. So
it makes sense so far.
Okay. Well, it'll even make more sense when you see the beginning that you came in after on. So okay. So the other thing is, did you get my email, by the way?
If you sent one today,
no. I'm sorry. I phoned you. Did you get a message I left you?
Yeah, I did. That's why I'm here. And
good. I'm glad that you got the message and you're here.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd already planned on being here.
Good. I love it that you're here. It's great. So anyway, where I am right now with this is I'm explaining how the creative process works through the creative director to the art director to the designer. And at the point we're at right now, the creative piece for brand 1 is in the process of being designed, and a comp has been sent up to the client, and it went through the route of the designer to the art director, creative director, to the creative rep, through the client rep, out to the client. And it's come back, and there are some modifications that are being made to the creative piece. So again, it comes through. I know it sounds very boring, but it comes through the client rep because he's the one meeting the client. He hands it off to the creative rep, who makes sure it's in a form that will make sense when he passes it down to the creative director. The creative director who already has done his job, which is to more or less set the overall premise of the project, and has handed it off to the art director. The art director then makes sure he fully understands what has to be accomplished, hands it off to a designer. The designer is actually going to be doing the design. Once the design has been done and the changes that have been requested have been made, God bless you, and it's all ready to go, the designer brings it back to the art director. Art director looks it over. If it's correct, he approves it, sends it to the creative director. Once it's correct with him, it goes over to the creative rep. He okays it, goes over to the client rep, who brings it to the client. At this point, the client hopefully will have no additional changes. But this process could happen any number of times. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be only once or twice. It could happen 6, 7 times.
Oh, no, it could be hundreds of times.
Hopefully not hundreds of times, but it can take—
Well, this depending on the size of a project and how long.
Yeah, and also the fussiness of the client. Sometimes, you get these people in a room and they get a real battle going about who wants what and what's important and what's not important. And
how picky they are and how stubborn they are about their view.
And the problem also is, how good is the client rep? I mean, is this client rep a really creative person? If he's a really creative person, the nuances that are going on in that creative client meeting, and sometimes I've actually known the creative rep to go with the client rep, but they generally don't like doing that. They generally like to have one face meeting the client. So So anyway, let's assume that everything went really good, and this mock-up then was approved by the client. What then happens is it goes to the client rep with the approval. It goes to the creative rep, who doesn't have to do much other than verify the approval. Maybe put it into some kind of a book, a log or something, log it in, send it down to the creative director. The creative director can then hand it off to the art director. Now, there's copy. If the copy has been created and finalized and approved, you now have a mock-up and you have a finalized copy. And what happens then is the designer works with a production person. And the production person's job is to basically put together the final production required in the piece. Depending upon the size of the ad agency, the designer might be the actual production person, or they may actually have a production person. Again, it all depends on the size of the ad agency, you know?
Yeah.
So basically the production person then will make sure that they do the production correctly. Once they feel they've done it correctly, they will hand it back over to the designer, who will more or less try to give it their eye and make sure that they see what's been done and try to verify as best they can that everything is correct. Then it is handed to the art director, who does the same thing. The art director scrutinizes the piece to make sure that there's nothing in there that's incorrect or missing or whatever. Once that art director is satisfied with it, it's handed off to the creative director, who does the same thing again. Basically, their job at this point is to just check to make sure that everything is absolutely perfect. Then it is brought up to the creative rep, who does the same thing again. Now, I know this sounds ridiculous and redundant, but the reasoning behind it is that more eyes on a thing will capture more problems. Somebody alone may miss something, the second person could miss it, but sooner or later through the tree, someone's going to catch it and send it back down the line to get corrected. You don't want anything going back to the client with a problem. It happens. No matter how hard you try to check things, it happens. And the client rep generally doesn't have a great deal of knowledge as to the technical issues that are involved in it, you know, and the client will bring it, or the client rep will bring it to the client, who will then approve it. And then from that point, it'll go through the final stages of production. If it's a print project, what will happen is, you know, films will be made, press proofs will be made, and if the press proofs, again, they'll be sent through the channels. More than likely, the art director and the creative director will be working on the press proofing. They will send it to the creative rep, and uh-oh, my internet connection is unstable. I hope you don't lose me. The client rep, and the client rep will finally approve it. That's kind of how it works. Most likely, most people, I should say, when you start in an agency, you start either as a graphic designer or as a production person. And as you work through the company, work with the company, and as you develop skills and as they develop a level of confidence in you, you will grow from, say, a production person to a designer. And then you will maybe grow from a designer to an assistant art director. And then at some point, you may be moved into a position where you're an art director. And, uh-oh, what happened? Did I lose you? Are you gone? Oh, I lost you. I guess you muted yourself. All right, so anyway, you'll ultimately move up. You'll move up the channel. And a lot of this has to do with if new brands are created. If you're there and new brands, when I say new brands, new accounts are picked up and new brands are established within the ad agency, your role, because you've been there over a period of time, might increase or grow to be a higher level in another brand. So that's more or less how this works. And I just thought that I would give you that bit of a instruction as to what I think this ad agency system is. I also wrote some stuff here for you that you can take a look at and perhaps, you know, critique on me. So that is your discussion. Now for the assignment, we have an assignment and we have an assessment. Design self-assessment. Let's see what this says. Let's look at that real quick. So it's a quiz. Okay, so it's a quiz. You've just got a quiz here. Now let's see what it says here. Final phase of advertising design campaign is necessary to evaluate the success of the project. It is important to go back through all the projects you have created. Ask yourself some questions to determine the success of your overall cohesion. Does the campaign fit the requirements and needs provided by the client? Does it appear to the target audience? Does it appeal to the target audience? What advanced advertising and design theories have I included to ensure the success of the ads? Self-evaluation may not seem easy to do, but it can challenge the judge yourself. It can be a challenge to judge yourself and your work. I think you'll have no trouble doing this. I mean, just from what I've read so far. You're going to create a document to explain the design process of creating your campaign and the design choices you made and why. Talk specifically about what design elements and or copy you included in your projects and why. Discuss what design choices you made to ensure cohesiveness in the campaign and why you included them. In addition, discuss specifically what advanced advertising strategies you utilized in your project. Most of this you shouldn't have any trouble with because we went over it and I think you understand most of this. And why you feel those strategies would be successful for your campaign and how they relate to your target audience. 300 words, minimum of 2 references, APA formatting. I think you should be able to do this without too much difficulty. So let's go back to assignments. And let's take a look at assignment 4. Bus ad and final presentation. So what you're going to do is, and again, this goes back to your very early learning objectives. You're going to create a year-long advertising campaign that adheres to communicating a client's brand of the campaign concept as determined by the company strategy. You didn't do too bad with that, so you're going to continue working. Interpret and utilize at least 3 advanced advertising strategies for an effective design advertising campaign. I'm not sure I saw that yet, so I'm looking to see. I don't remember. Maybe I did, but I don't remember whether you discussed the advertising strategies. You did define a target audience, so I remember that. Communicate advertising ideas, visual concept in writing and presentation. So I think you did a little bit of that. I think you need to do a little more of that as far as this goes. All right, so background. It's time to finish the last deliverable for your campaign and put all the projects together for the final client presentation. It's not enough to tell the client what the projects are going to look like or just show them piece by piece. It's important that they see the final artwork all together, along with a creative concepts as one final cohesive and professional presentation. So you've actually done this. You've got your presentation. I saw it. You have it basically set up. I think you got 5 or 6 pages there. This final presentation should include your initial proposal, week 1, which you basically did, and I gave you some direction on, and all the final design pieces mocked up where appropriate. There are 2 parts of the assignment. Part 1, a bus ad, which I'm going to basically play with tonight. I'm going to play with the bus ad tonight, and I hope that you enjoy what I do. And I also submitted for you, and I guess I'll get into that when we actually get up into the bus ad. So the part 1, the assignment instructions, keep in keeping with your campaign concept for this deliverable, design an ad that will wrap around the city transit bus. Accommodate placement for the content to allow for door openings. Many bus wrap companies have a way to do designs over the windows so that it may be an option you may want to consider. Take your design and place it on the mock-up provided, or choose or create one of your own. So you can download this mock-up right here, but I just want you to also know here, it's very important. Let me see if I can get to this for you. I'm going to go to a new window, and I'm going to go to, give me a second here because I got to get my bookmarks up. And let me go to Canvas here. and I just want to show you something. That's why I'm doing this. All right, so I'm going to go into announcements, and it's important for you to know I did you an alternate layout for your bus route. All right, I'm going to explain it to you tonight. We'll look at what I did, but I just want you to know that it's there for you. And if you want to use this one, you might find this one better because it's literally a side view of a bus and it shows you the entire bus. You don't have to worry about the windows. This one is basically just a solid bus, and I think you'll probably find this a great one to work with. Okay, so there it is. I've got it for you in there. All right, so let's see. Accommodate the placement, allow for doors, blah, 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 mock-ups, so far and so forth. You know what to do to all this stuff, all right? So let's see here. All right, part 2, the assignment instructions. Use the format you created in week 1 for your campaign concept presentation and modify it to include a cover page, which I believe you already got, proposal from week 1 assignment, which I believe you got, and I sent, Casey, let me ask you a question. You got your mic? Can you get your mic on? Casey? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's no problem. I just got a question for you, though. Remember, you're the only student, you know, so we can't mess this up. It's you. I don't worry about anybody else. I worry about you.
I know. I was sitting there going, I'll be right back. I had to reboot because I lost all audio.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you take a look at the attachment that I sent back to you?
Yes.
Okay. Did that help you at all?
Yes.
Okay. I just gave you some notes on it that I thought maybe might be something that you could include that would help make it a little bit better.
Oh, I firmly agree. So, you know, that's what I like about the feedback process is
good. So you have a cover page already, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you have a proposal, basically. You have your proposal statement.
Yeah, and I'm adding everything in as I go.
Right. And then you're going to have your 4 projects, 4 for two from each seasonal event. So really, it's up to you. You can go 4 seasons, 1 of each, or you can go pick 2 seasons and do 2 and 2. It's whatever you feel like doing, because I know that you're talking about seasons, and I don't know whether you've had it in mind to do 4 seasons or just 3 seasons or 2 or what. Whatever you do.
Right now, I was concentrating on winter and summer.
That's fine. That would be great, because it's saying here 4 projects, 2 from each. So really, you know, you're going to do like two things for you. Create one actual season, one season approach, and then another season approach, and apply it to 2 different items, 2 different types.
Right.
That's it. Okay. And then you're going to, I guess it looks like they're telling you that they're going to put on 2-page spreads.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then a reference page to list all images and templates sourced you use. You're going to, I guess, put together a reference page, which will reference your images and the things that you used. You know what to do with that?
Yep, that's at the very end.
Okay. And then if you have any APA formatting, you can include that with your references.
I do that with SiteFast.
All right. And then part 2, submit. Let's see. Review and update all projects from campaigns 1, 2, 3. Critique and feedback. I've tried to give you feedback as much as I could, but since you haven't submitted enough, I can't really give you much feedback. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I'm in the process of doing the Facebook page.
Okay, I'll tell you what. If you can send me something to look at, even if you have roughs, sloppy roughs, just give me something to look at so I can give you a critique on it. That would help. Okay. Whatever you can do. It's not, you know. I'll deal with it one way or the other.
Well, right now, all it's got is the cover page and, you know, the cover photo and the actual profile image.
What I've critiqued so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fine. All right, so then you're going to save it as a multi-page PDF, and then there's your naming and all that stuff, and upload it, and so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. All right, so the one thing that you're going to be working on is the bus ad. So what I've done is, and I hope you find this helpful and interesting, I'm going to...
Oh, I like that.
I'm going to, let me just show you. I'm going to show you some stuff tonight. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you feel like coming in tomorrow night, our week 4 session 2 is I could work with you on something if you want, or you know,
Yeah.
it's up to you. Whatever whatever you'd like to do. If you would like to help, I'll be more than happy to do it.
Well, right now, I finally got caught up in my other class.
Good.
So it's all focusing on this class.
Great.
And I found out something funny to me yesterday.
What's that?
My estimated graduation date
Yep.
is the day before my birthday.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Like,
That's a nice birthday
to
present.
me.
That's a nice birthday present, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm sitting there going, yeah, I need to get done.
That's very good. Very good. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, I have some good news too. I just spoke to my professor today, and he informs me that he gave me 100 on my thesis paper and my final project. So according to him, I've completed the entire course for my master's degree, and I got 100 on my final. So
that is awesome.
I have 1 month left before I'm going 6 months. I pay every 6 months. So I got it all done in 5 months. I worked through 6 months, and then 5 months I've completed the master's degree. I got a month left, and all I got to do is some, basically some, fill out a couple of forms, a couple of online forms and things like that. So I have 30 days to do that. So I shouldn't have any problem, and I'll have my master's degree, which is
congrats.
Yep, I'm wonderful. I'm really happy about it.
Well, as soon as I get done with my bachelor's, I'm planning to go to the IU's MBA department.
Good. That's wonderful.
And concentrating on entrepreneurship.
Good. Good.
So I can be the biz.
Oh, very good. Good. That's excellent. Well, let me explain a couple of things here. So what I did was I found this online, which I thought was a great bus. I thought this was a really nice bus, really nice shot of a bus. What I liked about it was photographed pretty much on the side. So if you're going to create something to work with a billboard, I mean, how could you possibly beat this? You know what I mean? This is just like a beautiful canvas to work with. But of course, it has all this graphics on here, okay? So, and oh, by the way, let me go to image, and let me go to image size, and look at this. It's 12 inches wide by 307 pixels per inch. So this is a beautifully big image with 300 pixels per inch. This is like
it is.
Yeah. So I mean, now I've got something. So what I did, I actually painted the side of the bus out.
You whitened it down.
Yeah, I got rid of all those graphics. I painted it all away. This is how I did it. Okay, I'll show you. I just literally went in there and I used Photoshop to paint it all in. That's what I did.
Now you're talking, because that Photoshop is my strong suit.
Well, I'm just showing you how I did this, because you don't have to do it. I've already done it for you. But this is how I did it. I basically just went in there. I created a new layer, and I went on top, and I just literally painted everything away. The nice thing about this is I didn't have to be like 100% detail. I mean, I went and tried to do a nice job of it, don't get me wrong. But because this is going to be all covered with graphics, I was sort of like, I didn't have to really kill myself to make this, perfect. So that's the first thing I did. And I sent this to you. The second thing I did, this is very important for you to understand. I went in and I created a mask, just like the one, let me go file open, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me go to desktop. Let me go to, I think it's in DES 104 week 4, is it? No, it's not. In desktop, it's in, I know where it is. Bus wrap, there it is. Okay, so city bus, there it is. This is the city bus that they're giving you to work on, okay? And this is what they did. They created that, which is a mask for you to put your graphics on. That's showing you where the graphics are supposed to go. And you can put them, they're saying you can put them over the doors, you can put them over the windows. You can use this if you want. Feel free, okay? but I went and I found the bus and I made, whoops, I made another bus for you right here. Okay.
I think I'm going to use your bus.
That's fine. You can use my bus. The important thing is that mine, I think, already has this flattened down. If it doesn't, you just got to remember that you're going to, before you use it, you're going to go layer, flatten, or merge visible. There you go.
Yeah.
Now
And
you've
then
got
it's just
that.
one big thing.
Right. Now, the next thing that's most important is I went in with my Polygon Lasso tool, and I went around the entire bus, okay? And I literally created a mask for you, okay? I'm not going to do the whole thing again. I'm just trying to show you that I actually went in.
Yeah, you actually went in and
I
did
made
that
a mask
for me.
for you. The mask has already been made, all right? So you get the general idea. I went around the whole thing, okay? Get the idea?
And, yeah. And
Okay,
then
now
I
here's,
go in and I put in my newly freshly created
well,
wrap into the mask.
I'm gonna just show you how I built mine, and then maybe you'll learn some things from it.
I will.
So the important thing is the mask. Where is the mask? If you go up to the select and go down to load selection, okay?
Okay.
You go to select, load selection, you get the load selection dialog box, and it's in wrap PSD. See, wrap PSD. Channel, it's a channel. Bus wrap, there it is, bus wrap. Now I'm going to select bus wrap. I'm going to hit OK. Watch what happens. There's my selection that comes up. Okay? So that's how you get this selection. The reason I did it this way is because I brought this selection up at least 5 times in order to put together my bus, the side of my bus, which I'm going to build a little bit for you tonight and show you how I did some of this stuff. Hopefully you'll find some of it interesting. So did you know about that you could do this? You could save selections like this?
Yeah. I'm a Photoshop junkie.
Okay, so here's the channels just so that you know. See, there's my bus wrap.
Yeah.
That's the channel that I created right there. And I did that by making my selection and going to the select menu and going save selection. I'm not going to do it again because I already did it. Select, save selection. I then named it bus wrap right there and saved it. And this way, anytime I want, I can go select, deselect. Anytime I want, I can go in there and I can bring it back up by just going load selection, bus wrap, hit OK, boom, it's back. Because again, I use it many, many times. Okay?
Sweet.
All right, so that's this. Then the next thing I did was I created this whole graphic on the side for you so I could show you some tricks that maybe this might help you when you go to work on yours. The first thing I did was I wanted to create a really cool logo kind of type for Tino's Cafe. Now, I'm going to go over to here, and there's Tino's Cafe. Now, if you look at this type like this, I mean, it looks pretty crappy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But when you look at it over here,
it looks
much
awesome.
better. Looks much better, doesn't it? So how I did this was like this. I actually have a layer, background layer with black, and I set my type. I actually expanded the type because I'm going to use this Thursday night. I have a graphic class I teach Thursday night at the Montclair Museum. I'm going to use this there too.
Cool.
And yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a displacement map. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a displacement map. What the displacement map is going to do is it's going to take the art that I make the displacement map out of, and it's going to map it into this type, distorting the type. That's essentially what's going to happen here. Okay? So to do that, and I don't know, have you ever made a displacement map before? All right, so maybe you'll learn something tonight.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the background layer, and I'm going to go File, Place. I'm just going to link it. And I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to go to Desktop, and I'm going to go down to another folder, which is called Texture Mapping. I have all these textures. See all these nice textures here?
Oh, yeah.
I went in and I found all these really great textures. But I found one that I really liked, and it's that wall right there. So I'm going to click on Wall, and I'm going to hit Place. and I end up with that wall. Now I want to maybe make that wall just a tiny bit bigger. I'll make it a tiny bit bigger like that, and then I'm good to go. Place. So there's my wall, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a displacement map out of this wall and use that to distort Tino's Cafe, making it look more interesting, okay?
Okay.
So to do that, I'm going to go to the channels panel. What I'm looking for to do this, I'm looking for the most contrast in the images. You know what channels are? Channels are, yeah. So you got a red channel. This is RGB.
Yeah, the red channel, the green channel, the blue
and the
channel.
blue channel. So
And
I'm
you have the
looking for the
RGB.
one, that's right. I'm looking for the one with the highest amount of contrast. So there's the red one. That's not very high in contrast. Go to the green one.
It looks like blue is the highest contrast.
Possibly. No, green.
Green,
Blue,
okay.
See how blue gets a little too dense dark? It's flat. Green,
Yeah, green's not.
Green has higher contrast. So it's the green channel. So what I do is I right click on this and I'm going to duplicate the channel. Okay? Duplicate the channel. And it's going to be called displacement. Displacement. And I'm going to, so in other words, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm naming it displacement, and I'm choosing a destination. Right now, it's going to be saved into Tino's Cafe Start PSD. But that's not what I want. What I want to do is I want to drop this down, and I want to choose new. What that means, essentially, is it's going to make it into a new document. And I will call that document displacement. Okay? And then I'm going to hit OK. Now, actually, I may have messed up. Let me see. I did. You know why? Let me go back. I actually, yeah, see, I messed it up. I left the copy on. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Let me hit, no. Let me go back to this. And, okay, Tina's Cafe's got to be out. This is on. And now, yeah, I got to keep that off. So I'm going to do this again. Let's go to channels. And let's go, it's the green one. So let's go duplicate. And I'm just going to call it displacement. And not going to be in Tina's Cafe. It's going to be in a new one. The name of the new document, this will be a new PSD document, of course, is
obviously
displacement. There you go, and hit OK. And then now this is the displacement. Go back to the layers, okay? And there's my background image. Now the problem with this is that I can't do anything with it. I can maybe go up to the image menu. Let's go to
no, it's locked. You can't do anything with
actually, what I got to do is I got to go image mode, grayscale. There we go. And now let's see if I can get access to my, nope, I can't. So let's go image adjust, let's see how, go to filter. How did I do this? Trying to, oh, here we go. That's it right there. I want levels. All right, so what I want to do, remember I told you that the displacement menu works in conjunction with contrast. So
yeah.
if I look at this, my whites are way off over here, my blacks are way off over here, and there's a lot of stuff in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to up the contrast a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the black over until it meets the actual end of my mapping, right about there. And you see how that has contrast up significantly? Mm-hmm. And if I want, I can start bringing this thing over a little bit too. And that will, see how now that's, if I hit OK, watch this. See? You see the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm going to go layer. I'm going to make this on. And I'm going to go layer, flatten image. And there we have it. Okay, so it's displacement. I'll leave it open, I guess. All right, so let's go back to Tino's Cafe. There it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this layer. and I'm going to bring Tino's layer on, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to filter, distort, okay, displace. And what I want to do here is I think I want to leave the horizontal scale, I'm sorry, the vertical scale this way, set at the 10. I don't want to go any further than 10. But I think the horizontal scale, which is this way, I think I want to bump that up to like 25. And then I'm going to hit OK. And then it's going to send me in to find my
displacement map.
Right. So I called it displace, right? I hit displace, I hit open, and that's what it does to my cafe.
Wow.
That's basically how I did it. That's how I created the Tino's Cafe that you see here.
I see.
Okay. Now I could go back to this. If I don't like the way this come out, I could go edit undo or step backwards, and I could go in and I could modify the displacement. So let me try it one more time. Filter, and let's go to displace or distort, displace, sorry. And then let's try 20. Let's see, maybe 20 might be a little bit less. Go to 20 instead of 25, hit OK, and hit displace. I also have a displacement map. Let me try the displacement map. Let's see what that one does. That one's kind of cool. I like that. Yeah. That looks pretty darn good. So there it is. That's it. Basically, I've taken this text and again, let's go edit undo. Right? So the bottom line is, you're looking at something which normally looks pretty dumb. And, you're taking this thing and making it look much better by doing this. So one more time, I'll go to filter, distort, displace, and go back to, let's try 15, hit OK, and then displace, hit open. There we go. That's it. So there's my displace. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my wrap. Okay, and I'm going to go select, deselect. So the first thing I did, if you take a look at this, let me close this because we don't need this anymore. And this one here, we're not, actually, you can choose this one, you can choose the other one, totally up to you.
No, I like yours better. There's more space on it. Okay,
so there's Tino's Cafe. Okay, so what I did, basically, I started out by putting my color in the background. So how I did that, much of this is very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to create, this is all done with layers. So I'm going to bring this over. Oops, I could bring it over so I could actually get it. There we go. That's probably good. So I'm going to create, and this is too deep. Let me bring that up. There we go. Create a new layer. Okay. I'm going to call this red. And then I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this green. Okay, so red and green. All right, and start off with the red layer. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm hoping that by me doing some of this, it will give you some ideas as to what you could possibly do to illustrate this bus and make it look really cool like mine did. You know what I mean? See if you know any of this stuff, and if you don't know any of this stuff, I hope you'll learn something new. Did you learn anything with the displacement, or did you just say?
Oh, yes.
All right.
That was something new.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go about halfway down. Okay, I'm going to go to about, I guess, roughly there, maybe. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Come over here. And I don't have exact colors, and it doesn't matter. This is just a demonstration. So I'm going to pick a nice bright red, and then I'm on the red layer. I'm going to get my bucket tool, and I'm going to dump red in there. Okay, and then I'm going to go select, deselect. Okay, and then I'm going to get my green, and I'm going to, let's go back into, actually I don't need that this second. Let's go to this, and let me get my green. So I'm going to bring this up until I get a green that I like, somewhere in that neighborhood right there. And I think that the Mexican green is something like that maybe. What do you think? That green and that red together look good? I like that. That looks good to you that way? Because it's got to be kind of Mexican green and red, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what we have down here.
Good. All right, well, let's do that just for the heck of it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to come over here, and I'm going to create a shape, something similar to this. So I'm creating essentially the Mexican flag. I might actually bring this down just a little bit, and I may actually bring the other one up a little bit, but I'm going to fill that on the green layer. I'm going to fill it with the green. Okay, so now I have green, red, and white. That's the Mexican flag. I think maybe I'm just going to select, deselect, all right? And I'm just going to move this one up just a little bit that way. Okay, so there's my colors. Now what I need to do is I need to go to the select menu and I need to load the selection, okay? And I'm gonna come down here, bus wrap, I'm gonna hit okay. So you see I got my bus wrap loaded?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's the deal though. The bus wrap is the interior portion of this. So if I click on delete now, what it's going to do is it's gonna knock away the inside and leave the outside. You understand that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to inverse the selection so that I can get the opposite. So I'm going to go to the select menu and I'm going to inverse. Now I've got the outside. My red layer is selected, so I hit delete, and now all the color outside is gone. I'm going to go to green, do the same thing, delete, and now when I go select, deselect, I have my complete bus covered with color just the way I need it. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
And it's really just a matter of creating a basic shape. I have my selection up here, the load selection. There it is for you. You're going to use this a whole bunch of times, so you don't even have to create that. It's going to make it a lot easier for you, okay? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect this thing now. And the other thing that I need to do is these are flat colors. So all the little subtle detail that's in the background of this is gone. So I'm going to use a blend mode, multiply, and I'm going to use a blend mode on this, multiply, and now do you see the colors blend into the actual bus,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that's all you know how to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next thing, take a look at the bus wrap. I got two pieces of food here that I want to put on, okay? So they're two big pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. Let me actually go file save as. Let me save this as. This is wrap underscore bill. And then hit save. There we go. Hit OK. All right. So I need that food. So let me go file place. And there's my Mexican dish. And let's go place. And there it is. Okay, so this thing here is probably going to be smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring it down till it's about the size that I want, which is slightly bigger than the bus itself. Okay, so I'm going to bring it down until just a little bit bigger than the bus itself. Actually, let me go to bus wrap. Is that what I did? I think I did that. Let's go file place. Yeah, I think that's what I did. I think I made it just a little bit bigger, about like this. Probably that's good. Then I just move it over here, and I'm going to place it. Let's place it for now. Then what I need to do is see, now that thing is it's a smart object. Whenever you place these things in, it comes as a smart object. I don't want it to be a smart object because I want to edit it. So I can just basically go up to the image. Wait a minute. Edit. Let's see. Oh boy. Layer. That's it. Layer. Rasterize. Smart object. There. Now that's nothing more than just an old bitmap. So I'm going to come in, zoom in on this thing, and I'm going to get my Polygon Lasso tool because I don't need this to be completely perfect. I'm just demonstrating tonight. I'm going to come around here and I'm going to polygon around the edge of this dish out here as best I can, and I'm going to literally delete that part, the outside part of this plate image, and just leave what looks like the edge of the plate. And when I put a shadow in it, you'll see it'll actually work even better. I'm going to come all the way around it, until I get way down to here. And off screen, I'm like this. And make sure I'm on the Mexican dish and hit delete. Okay, select, deselect. Now I have my dish basically in place. and I have to put my my whatchamacallit, my taco. So let me go to File, Place, Linked, and let's get the taco, Place, and let's go Edit. Oh, actually, let me do this. Place it. Let's go Edit, Transform, Flip horizontally. There we go. Flip horizontally. There we go. And then Edit, Free Transform, and I'm going to make it smaller by shifting and bringing it down. Oh, I screwed it up. I let go of the mouse. Boy. Oh, let me do this. Don't place. There we go. Okay, I'll try it again. This time I'll hold my finger down the mouse and not let it go. All right, so I'm going to make it about that big right there, I guess. You know, I'm just kind of roughing this tonight. You'll see. It'll work out okay. Might make it a little bit smaller. It looks like it might be a little bit too big there. Bring it down to about like that. I guess something like that's pretty good. And place. Okay, now that is also a smart object. So what I want to do is I want to go to the layer menu and I want to go rasterize. Where are we at here? Smart object. Okay, so now I have 2 bitmaps. So let's see. If I'm going to go with this, I don't know whether the sizes are exactly right. They'll be close enough. I'm just more concerned that you understand how I'm doing this, and if you have any questions.
I understand it.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is go back into Select, and I'm going to go back to Load Selection, and it's going to be the bus wrap again, and hit OK. And then what I want to do is, let me get my layers out of the way here, my channels. I want to close up my channels, so we don't need that anymore at this point. Let me move this over here. Jeez, I'm running out of space on this thing. Let me just do this. Close this up for a minute, move it out of the way so you can see what happens. Okay, so I need to do the same thing. I need to go Select, Inverse. And then I'm going to hit Delete. And then I'm going to go over to my Mexican dish, and I'm going to hit Delete. And that's basically how I put my food graphics onto this. Now, actually, let me go back and Edit, Undo. And let me go, this one I don't need to do it on. Let me go Select, Deselect, because there's one thing I actually wanted to do with this before I do that. With that selected, I want to come in here and I want to put an effect on it. I want to put a drop shadow. Okay, so I want to put a drop shadow over here. So I'm going to play with this and find out where the angle needs to go. There it is. It needs to be over here. So that's the angle I need, right about there. And then what I'm going to do is bring the distance out some, and I'm going to soften it slightly. That's what I'm looking for. And I might darken it a bit. See, I want to get it a little bit darker. That looks pretty good. Okay?
Yep.
All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Layer, Rasterize, Layer Style. Why I did that? I'll tell you why I did that. Because if I didn't rasterize the layer style, what would happen is when I chop the piece out, the layer style would still be active and it would still jump off the graphic. By rasterizing it, I turned it into a bitmap. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, it's just basically a bitmap, part of the picture, and it now, you know, is not going to be a layer style anymore. If I open this up, normally it would have been, well, watch, I'll go Edit, Undo, and you'll see what I'm talking about. See, there it is, this layer style. So if I cut the rest of this apart, that layer style will still act on it. By rasterizing it, layer, rasterize, layer style, it's gone. That's part of that now, and I won't have that problem. So now what I can do is go into the Select menu and go Load Selection, and then I can come down to here and I can bus wrap it, and then hit OK, and then I can go Select Inverse, and then make sure I'm on my Mexican dish and hit Delete, and there I have my 2 dishes on there. The next thing I would do is go Select, Deselect, and I would go, probably what I could do here, let's see, Tino's Cafe. Yeah, let's go in here and let me control click this guy and make a selection out of this, okay? And let's go edit. I'm just gonna go cut so I can see it go. There we go, edit cut. And I'm gonna go into Bill Wrap and I'm gonna go edit, paste. There it is. And what I'm gonna do with this now is I'm going to edit free transform it. Let's get the thing sized and rotated. I want the thing to be about like that, and I want it to rotate on that kind of an angle right there. I want it to be sort of like this. I gotta be careful of the rotation because see, it's going, the red's going into the, this is gonna be green, this is gonna end up being green, and this is gonna end up being
red.
Red, yeah. So I gotta try to be careful with that. So it's something like that would probably be pretty good. This may end up looking a little bit different than my original, but I'm more concerned that you're seeing how I'm doing this than I actually end up making it look exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably pretty good like that. And I'm going to apply it. So what I want to do then is I want to create 2 layers out of this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I got, it's on 1 layer. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to get my Polygon Lasso, I'm going to go around the Tino. And I'm going to carefully select just the Tino area. Keep going around until I get that selected. And then I'm going to go layer new, layer by a cut. Boom. So now I have a cafe layer and a Tino layer. All right. Yep. So what I'm going to do with the cafe layer is I'm going to select it like this, and I'm going to eyedrop, and now the red's filled, and I'm going to come over here with my paint bucket tool, and I'm just going to dump red in it. There we go. And then select, deselect, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the Tino. What's that?
But the problem is cafe runs into the red background.
Yeah, but that's because I'm going to put filters on it. You'll see when I put the filters on it, it'll make sense. You'll see what happens. What happened? Wait a minute. There's the Tino. I think I put it on the wrong layer. Huh. Hold on. Let me see here. Get this thing cut. I think I actually put this on the wrong layer. All right, let's go. So edit, cut. I'm on the wrong layer again. See, there's Tino. Okay, let's go edit, undo. All right, so let me see. That's the layer. This is the layer. Let's go edit, cut. There we go. Okay, so this layer is going to go bye-bye, and then I'm going to create a new layer right here, and we're going to, I guess that's the right layer, isn't it? Make sure it's the right layer. That's the layer. There we go. Edit, paste, in place. There's cafe. Okay, then the Tino layer, I'm just going to click to select the Tino, get the eyedropper tool, and eyedrop the green. And let's see, I'm on the right layer here. Yep, that's it. I'm going to dump it in there, and then I've got that. Boom. Oh, geez. Let me paint it. There we go. Oh, what the heck is this? What's going on now? Oh, it's the wrong tool. That's what I want. There we go. There we go. So I got Tino. Select these. Okay, so there's Tino's Cafe. And then, if you take a look at this, there's my wrap. So I have a drop shadow, and I have an inner, an inner glow that I've actually reversed, or inner shadow and a drop shadow. So what I'm going to do is go back to mine, and I can do this. I can actually, I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to actually, well, let me put the effects on it first. Let me open this up. So I got my layer 2 here, which is going to be, that's the Tino, T-I-N-O, and then this is the Cafe, C-A-F-E. I always try to name the layers so that, because what happens is there's going to be more and more layers being built here, and I want to make sure I know what's what. So that's why I basically, make sure I have them all the layers. And I think I'm going to probably move this Tino's up a little bit so that it's more like that and closer to that taco. And I think I'm going to do the, whoops, Control Z. Bring it up to here. I think I want it to be about right there. And then the cafe, I think I want the cafe to be sort of like that. Something like that. There we go. I want to be able to put some words here, and I want to be able to put some copy here. All right, so Tino, let's go to Tino first. Effect, drop shadow, and let's see what we got. That drop shadow looks pretty good. Let me see something. Let me hit cancel. Let me see what direction my drop shadow is on. It looked like it was actually in that direction, so I was probably right on with it. Let's go drop shadow. There it is. And I think, I don't know, I kind of like my drop shadow to be a little bit more hard-edged. What do you think? And I might actually,
yeah, for that,
actually bring it down some. Yeah, I think I'm looking more, I think I'm more like that. You like that?
yeah.
And then maybe the distance should come in just slightly. That's good. And that's actually, I like that right there. What do you think? You like that?
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's 83, 8, and 5. Hit OK. And let's go to cafe. And let's go drop shadow. And let's go 83. Goes 83. There we go. 8 and 5. There it is. That's about it. And hit OK. So now I have the cafe on it. So the other thing that I did was I actually went in here and I went inner shadow. And you see how the inner shadow helps pop that off the...
Yeah, it does.
Hit OK. I'm not even going to... I think this was basically 35, 13, and 30. I think that probably works pretty good. You like that?
It does.
And then I'm going to do the same thing with the Tino. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in inner shadow. And there you have Tino's Cafe. So the bottom line is, you know, when you do this thing, adding these effects help the graphics. You've probably seen bus wraps and car wraps and van wraps that look just like this, where they're doing these kind of graphics and they're doing these same sort of techniques to it. And this is basically how they do it. And remember, you're making a mock-up. You're not worrying about making the final art on this. You just want this to fool the eye. When you look at this, you want people to believe that what you're seeing is, you know, the mock-up for what the graphics is going to be like, you know? So
yeah.
You can use anything that you want with this. I mean, if you wanted to, instead of making the this an inner shadow, you could make it an inner glow. You know, you may find the inner glow might be interesting. I just thought the inner shadow was good with it. So where am I at with this? All right, so I'm at this point. So I got basically the hard stuff done. I stuck with this weird font, okay, because I thought the weird font actually kind of worked pretty good with this, you know. All right, so I'm gonna set up a little bit of the fonts. I may not do the whole thing, but I'm gonna set up a little bit of the fonts here. Then I got a couple of other tricks I want to show you. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna do that now. So right now, even though the background is showing, you see the graphics through the background. Now you're not going to see the background through this graphic, because this graphic, if I made it transparent, the color would be added to it and it would not work. The only way I could possibly do that, and it might be risky, what I could do is this. I could do this. I could come in here and I could very carefully, I don't know how this is going to work. This is kind of like an experiment I'm going to try. Let's see how this works. I'm going to click here, see if this actually works out okay. What I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out how to make that graphic, how to show the detail of the bus in this food graphic. So I'm thinking that maybe if I go around like this in the dark area, okay, like I'm doing, and if I come way out here like this, all right, and if I go to my layers panel, where'd my layers go? Window, layers, there we go. And if I go to my, let's go to my red first, and let's hit delete. It's gone. See it?
Yeah.
Hit the green and hit delete. Okay, they're gone. Now, you can't see anything. I'm going to go select, deselect. Then I'm going to go back to my Mexican dish layer. And if I click on my Mexican dish layer, and if I make that multiply, you see what it does?
Yeah.
It multiplies it into the background and all the detail comes out. You see that?
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to do. And you can't see where I cut it away. If I hide it, you see what I did?
Yeah.
I cut it away so that when this guy comes in, I can now bring up all the details on the back of that bus. It makes it look like it's actually part of it. And I could do the same thing with this right here. I probably could do this by just right-clicking on that guy, right like that. No, that ain't going to work because I got that shadow down there. Almost works. What I'd have to do is I'd have to come over here and make a slight modification, which would be I'd have to get my Polygon Lasso tool, and I'd have to come in here, and I'd have to hit the Alt or Option key, and I'd have to come in here and carefully go like this, where I'm going to get rid of that. You see what I'm doing? I'm taking away that drop shadow thing there.
Yeah.
I don't want that drop shadow thing cutting away because it won't work right. It'll look funny. As it is, I'm not doing a great job with this, but I'll do a good enough job that you get the idea, I think. Okay, so you see how I've actually now just made that selection right there? I can now go to my green, and I can go delete, and I can go to my red, and I can go delete. And now, theoretically, if I go to my taco and go multiply, that multiplies into the background too.
Yeah, it does.
So now what you have is you have them. It actually makes it, I think it makes it look much more real by having the background of the bus showing through it. So these are little techniques. Now, if you were doing this thing on the bus with the windows, you could do the same technique, but if you had windows here, what would happen is these things would blend into the windows, and it would probably look like, well, let me see if I move this over, see if that works. You see how that goes over the window there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too much over that window. It may not work, but that would be the idea. What I would do if I were putting in the windows is I would actually create the shape of the windows, and I would go in there and I might create a white area, and it would be like a transparent white, so a little bit of the detail showing, and then when it goes over top of it, it would look better. When it goes over it now, see how it's so transparent? All the details show?
Yeah, I see.
All right. So anyway, there's my graphics. Any of this stuff make sense to you? Have you done any of this stuff? All right. Now let's see where we're at here. So, all right. So authentic Mexican cuisine. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set some type. Authentic. All right, so let's see here. How did I do this?
What's a Mexican cuisine?
Authentic Mexican cuisine, except I made a mistake. That's just, I'm setting some type. I'm going to actually show you how I did the type on this. I did this in...
Sorry, you put Mexican instead of Mexican.
Yeah, I'll fix it. All right, so let's see here. So authentic, it's actually AUTHENTIC, and then it is Mexican, as in M. Okay, so there's that, and I don't know exactly what size I used. I don't quite remember. I'm going to go up a little bit, I guess. Let me bring my character and my paragraph out. And let's go 20. Let's go 30. It's awful big. Let's go 28. I think it was 28. 28. And let's get this thing down to where we've got it about 14 point. Oh, I know what the problem is. I got it all selected. There we go. Now let's go down to 14 point. There we go. And let's go 18 point. And let's go 24. Almost there. Let's go 26. I like things tight. 26. Yes, that will do. Okay, so there it is, authentic Mexican cuisine. So what I did with this then was I brought it down here, and you know, I'm just kind of like flying. I did this black and white, all right? Again, I kind of wanted certain things to pump up, and I thought the authentic Mexican cuisine was important, the phone number was important, and then there's the address down there, and then the website. So I thought those were kind of important. So so I did this, let's see, wrap 3, mine is here, and it is going to be in selected again, and it's going to be black. Okay, and then what I want to do with this is I want to give it a slight rotation. I think it's just a slight rotation, and that's actually in a pretty good spot. It's pretty much where it should be, I think, like about like that. Now I might make it a little bit bigger because I think I can. Let's go edit, transform. Yeah, it's free transform. That's good. Let's make it just a tiny bit bigger. That's good. All right. And then what I did was I added an effect to this thing. Again, I added an effect to it. Is there any of this stuff is new to you, that you're learning new things, or am I just doing stuff you already know?
Actually, you're doing some things that I do know, but then you're doing other things that I'm learning.
So, okay, so it's not total waste.
No, it's not.
All right, add a layer effect. I can't really see the one that I want. Let me move this up just a bit. Add a layer effect. And what I want is I want a stroke. All right, and what I want with my stroke is I want the stroke to be in white. White, there we go. And I want it to be not inside, but outside. There we go. And I think I want it to be, I think it was like 7. Oop, that's too big. Way too big. I think it was like 7. Let me try 7. 7 is good, and hit OK. So there's my authentic Mexican cuisine. All right, and that looks pretty close to what I was doing. I may not be exactly the same, but it's close enough. Then what I did was I put the phone number down here, so I basically do the same thing. I might even be able to just basically duplicate this layer actually, and then what I can do is I can select the layer, and I can just remove one line of it. All right, let me see if I can get this to do it. Let me see if I can get it to do it. All right, let's go. What's the phone number I had? I forget. See if you can remember this phone number for me. I'll write it down. 307-376-6700. There we go. All right, so let's go back. And I'm just going to select this guy, and I'm going to make it 307-376-6700. There we go. And then I'm just going to move this thing down, and I got to unrotate it. I want to bring it back to edit, transform, bring it back to where it's level again. Something along the line of that. That's probably close enough to straight. And I think it's a little smaller. A little bit. Come back here and select it and just make it a little bit smaller. That's good. And maybe rotate it like that. That's right. And then I think in order to get this looking good, I'm going to move it in a little bit like that. I want the authentic cuisine to be a little bit out in front of it like that. I think that's the way I want it to look. That looks pretty good. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think what I did was I put drop shadows on all this stuff. Let's go down here and let me. There we go. Okay. There we go. Apply. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I did. I put a drop shadow on this. And let's see. I believe I don't see it. What layer am I on here? Yeah, that's the layer. I don't see the drop shadow though. Do you?
Mm-mm.
What is going on with this? Cancel. All right, let me try this one. Let's try putting a drop shadow on that one. See if that one works. Drop shadow, where are you? There it is, I see it. I actually see it a little bit right there. There it is, that's what we got. I want it to be about like that. And I think I want it to be a little bit lighter. And I might want it to be a little bit blurry, more like that. That's what I want. See how I did that?
Yep.
And I'll hit OK, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the other one. Let's put a drop shadow on that the same way. Hopefully the numbers will be the same. Doesn't look like it. Huh. There we go, a little bit more. I think it was about like that. Something like that. And then I brought it out a little bit. That's probably good like that. See, again, the whole idea of this, when you're doing these things, is to create three-dimensional feel. You know, even though it's not three-dimensional, you're trying to bring up three-dimensional quality to the whole thing. So keep that in mind when you do these graphics. You know, you're in Photoshop and you're doing mock-ups. You're not doing actual final graphics. These are just mock-ups. You're never going to really produce these this way. So you're just going to be making the mock-ups. And then the rest of it is just, I just keep, you know, one at a time coming in here and creating my text elements, you know, like home style Mexican food, family restaurant, and then the address right there. So, you know, like for instance, I'll come in here and set the text for this. Where's the text? There we go. And now in this particular case, when I designed this thing, it occurred to me that even though I really don't like this font very much, I think this is a very hokey font. It occurred to me that for this particular context, this Mexican cuisine type of deal, this font worked right. It just seemed to work right. And I just thought that the overall black with the white outline everywhere, I just thought that kind of made a nice consistency. And that's one of the things that when you're designing things, you try to come up with something that's appropriate and try to do, you know, make it somewhat consistent. So that's just my feeling on it. When you go to design your thing, you know, you can design it any way that you want, and you don't necessarily have to stick to one font. You can go in and you can use a couple of different fonts for all I care, as long as, you know, you create something that looks right for you. This is a Mexican restaurant. It just seemed to me that this look kind of worked.
Yeah, it does kind of fit.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, so let's go edit again. Let's go through transform it. I'm going to bring it down to about half the size. I'll bring it down to about like that. That's probably pretty good. And oh, I can look at that. I can actually rotate it. Look at that. That's what I want. I probably should rotate it when I get it down by Tino's, because I want it to sort of follow the same line as much as I can. Sort of like that. That look pretty straight to you, do you think? How does that look? That look about right?
I pushed it up a little bit.
Yeah, and over. I'm going to bring it like that. And then the same thing, what I'm just going to do, leave it black, come down here, effect, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to go stroke, and it'll be the same deal. It'll be a white stroke. Let's make it white. I always thought that all the elements in Photoshop stayed in the last configuration that you made it, but apparently it doesn't. Let's go outside, and let's bring this up until it. Oh, I got the wrong one. I got the wrong layer here. Where's my family? Right there. Where's my family? Where are you? Family restaurant. Way down here. Okay, so there we go. Got that layer. Had the wrong layer. Stroke.
That looked kind of cool.
Well, I'll go back and look at it and see. I don't know, maybe. I didn't initially do it that way, but I certainly will take a look at it and see what that does. Outside white, and it's too much. Center, oh, I got the wrong one. Outside, there we go. Outside, there we go. And that actually probably should be 5 for the size of it. And let's see, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Good. All right, let me just see Tino. We'll take a look and see what Tino does with that. I'll see whether I agree with you or not. Let's see, stroke. That's a black one. Make it white, it would do this. Too much, don't you think?
Yeah, but it did look cool earlier before
Well,
you
that
had
was
the
maybe
one on
because
the
it was
other.
black. Is that what you saw initially?
No, what I saw initially was the white,
Oh, you saw the white. Yeah. I don't know.
but it was like without the white around the family, it popped better
Yeah.
to me.
I think that stands out pretty good. You
Yeah,
know,
it stands
restaurant.
out fine now, even though the family stands out right too.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
got the balance.
this is just I already did the one. So this is just I'm just going through the process. Yeah. I'm just
You're
going.
repeating the process so I can see it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of a lesson on what I did to create this whole thing. If it helps you, I hope it does.
It does.
There we go. And then what I have over here, I think I have home style Mexican food. All right. So I got to put a drop shadow on that guy right there. So there's my drop. Now, the nice thing about font layers is they actually name themselves. That's what I like about the font layers. Another thing that I do all the time, I don't know whether you do this or not, but I try to take elements and I try to group elements, because you see how I'm getting really nuts with all the layers here?
Yeah, you have to group them together.
Right. So what I generally do is I'll click the taco layer and I'll hold down the control key and I'll click on the Mexican dish layer and the green layer and the red layer. And then what I'll do is I'll click on the group layer. So now I've got a group with those elements in there, okay? And I'm going to drag that right above the background layer, if I can make it go down there. There we go. Okay, I'm going to call this my background.
Oh, by the way, I found the old slogan for Blue Mountain.
You did?
Yeah.
What was it?
If you can ski Blue Mountain, you can ski anywhere.
Wait a minute, if you could what?
If you can ski Blue Mountain, you can ski anywhere.
I think you are you going to keep that one, or you're going to come up with something new?
I love it because I know the history behind it.
Okay.
The owner of Blue Mountain came up with that because the main slope on Blue Mountain was so steep.
Yeah.
That it was hard to ski.
Uh-huh.
And just to me, it pops.
Well, one of the things that I always say is that when you're dealing with stuff like this, you have branding manuals that you have to follow. So in my opinion, that wouldn't be a bad thing to do, because again, there are branding manuals, and theoretically, this might even look better if I actually have this over here a little bit. What do you think? You like that? A little bit into the taco?
Yeah.
That bother you?
No.
Okay. No, I mean, that's not a bad thing to do. I would basically consider staying with that. And I don't know, when you go in there, have you decided on what colors you're going to use for your project?
I'm using blues and golds.
Okay, so you got blues and golds. Now, when you look at their old, you have any old graphics there? You said they had an old website or something?
Yeah, I have some pictures of the skiers getting ready to ski on the mountain.
Okay.
I've got a picture of one of the guys doing a ski on 2013.
Right.
So what I was thinking is for the bus wrap is using some of those.
Yeah.
Like the old skiers all lined up getting ready to go down the mountain.
Yeah, and you could do something. See, the nice thing about this big old bus that I come up with is it's a big blank billboard. I mean, this actually really looks like a billboard. I mean,
it does.
I don't know whether this is a private bus or a transit bus. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line is,
it's a bus.
It's a bus, and you want to make a really nice looking graphic on it. And, this gives you a great canvas to work on. This is really the way to go. So, I mean, the other one is, it's not even in a good angle. You know, it's not going to be a good bust. This is a much better bust. That's why I thought right away I'd share it with you, because, you know, you get more out of it.
You do.
Yeah. So this is it. This is more or less how I did this. So I got my bust background layer. I got my background graphics all on one, which is nice, right? And then I got my, what I would probably do is I'd take my logo elements, select them, okay, and then call that logo. You see already what's happening now is this layer stack is getting much more manageable. So all of these actually then become
your text group.
Text, exactly, text elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these, and they're going to be my text elements. All right, so there's my text. So now if I want to work on my text, I just open up my text, select the layer, and I get my text tool, and I place it in here. And what am I going to do this time? I think I'm going to do the one that says home style Mexican food. So let's go in and let's do home style Mexican food. And then it's enter. Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention to you, in this particular case, and I don't do this all the time, but in this particular case, I chose center align everything. I'm center aligning everything. I really think, let's go back to this one.
Mm-hmm.
See how it kind of looks good with the center align, These, I mean, this isn't center line.
Yeah.
This is line by line. And what I did was I kind of tried to follow the angle of that picture. That's the only thing that I did a little bit different. This is just a free floater. This sort of tries to center along the line of these two. And this is tucked up in the corner here. But I'm center aligning things because I think it actually works better. So I got my Mexican food here. It's way too big. The best way to do this, remember, you know, all you're doing here is you're just doing a mock-up. So you don't have to worry about specific size or anything. I do everything by eye. I'm shooting by eye. I'm coming in here and placing things and sizing things by eye. You know, so that's really what I'm doing. When I get it to where I think it looks right, the size looks right, that's where I stop. And something like that's probably pretty good. Okay, so I got my home style Mexican food. I'll do that first, and then I'll come in here and I'll put my stroke around it. And there we go. And this is actually outside. See, it actually is good. This probably is 3 because of the size. How's that? Is that about right? Yeah, I think that's probably good.
Yeah.
And hit OK. And then what I did with this is edit, transform. I actually, let's go zoom in on this because I actually did something a little different with it. What I did with this was, let me zoom over here. See, this thing doesn't look like it's sitting properly on that panel. See, it looks okay up there, but when it comes down there, you see what's happening? See how that's on an angle, the wrong angle?
Yeah.
So what I did, how I dealt with this was I went into the edit, I went to transform, and I went to, I think it was, let's see, was it skew? Let me try it. Yeah, that's it. I used the skew menu. So you see what I did? I just literally skewed it slightly. See how I got it? Look, I'll do it a little bit more because I ain't quite there yet. I'm just going to pull this down. See what I'm doing?
Yep.
I'm distorting the type. So now when I lift that type, I'll hit apply. Now when I lift that type into position here, it actually looks correct. Looks like it's on the proper angle. Because I have a feeling that people tend to not look up here. They tend to look down here. And this might be skewed a little tiny bit more than I should, but you get the idea what I did to try to place and get it looking right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You fit on screen. All right, so there's that. And then, you know, the only thing I have is the, whatchamacallit over here, the
burrito thing.
Yeah, and then my address. So basically that's it. That's how I kind of did this. And, you know, we still got some time. I don't know if you want me to keep working on it. I'll keep playing with it. We still got another 10 minutes or 50. We got 10 minutes. You want me to just do a little bit more? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So, you know, same thing. What I did here was, let's see, it's 120 West Pine. I have no memory. You know, when you get old, you start losing your memory.
Oh, you ain't that old.
The memory.
My mama's 71 and she's got her memory.
Yeah, I love her for it too, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my mother and father are both gone.
My dad died 3 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
I think you were around then, too.
Did this is your what? Is this your 4th year?
Yeah.
This is your 4th year. So would you have had me in your 1st year? Were you in it? I had you for 101 classes.
No, you had me for package design.
Okay, so that was recent though, wasn't it?
It was the first run of package design back in the day.
Yeah, but weren't you in my last class before this class?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had you more than once.
Yeah, you had me, but what I'm saying, there was you and another girl in the last class.
Right, and
Now
then
there's you
before
again.
that, I had you in both my packaging classes.
Okay, so I've had you several times. The difference is in these 2 classes, I actually got to talk with you a lot more than I did in the other class because there were a lot more students in the other class. But
Exactly.
yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, so good. I get to feel like I know you a little bit. All right, so
Well, in a way you do.
yeah, I certainly do. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this line by line. So this is going to be 120 West. And I just made this up, really. And that's in, oops.
I figured.
Yeah, comma, Pinedale, Wyoming. Whoop. All right, so that's that. And let's make this a little bit smaller. Edit, free transform, scale. That's good. That is good. Let's turn that thing down to about like that. I think that's probably pretty good. Apply. And let's move it over there. That'll do. Because we have extra space now. This actually, I think this version looks a little bit better than the other one. The other one maybe looks a little bit more cramped. I never liked this burrito, fish taco, and fajitas. I don't think that came out very well. Maybe it's because it's too big. What do you think?
Maybe.
Too big?
Yeah.
All right, so there's that. And then what I'm going to do is I might as well set the other line as well. So let's set the other line real quick. And that is 30. Oh, no, that's not right. www.tinos, tinos.com, tinos.com. There we go. And then that's going to come down here too. And that's way too big. So let's bring that down, edit, free transform. You know, and what I like to do when I'm doing this is when I kind of know where I'm putting things, I kind of like to, you know, sort of do design on demand. You know what I mean? Like I'll actually go piece by piece and I'll figure out how I want the pieces to look. See what I'm doing here? Now to me, this looks actually pretty good, but I'm probably going to want to go up a little higher with this. And what I was trying to accomplish was I was trying to get it to appear like it was falling in line with this dish. Whoops, I'm at the wrong one. That's the wrong one. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so then I'm just going to put a stroke on that. And that stroke probably is good. I guess it'll be good. And then we'll put a stroke on the other one. And that'll be good. Okay. And then I'm going to put a drop shadow on both of them. What was it? That's probably okay. Let me make the size a little tiny bit smaller. That's probably good. Actually, the distance. That I went the wrong way. A distance is what I want. That's good right there. And then do the same thing with www. Effect. Drop shadow.
Yeah, the web dress.
There we go. And let's bring that in. 15 is way too much. That's probably good right there. Hit OK. That'll do it. There we go. That's it. So now we got everything on there. These two things maybe might come up just a little bit, you know. Could move them up just a tiny bit because there's a lot of space there. Maybe out a little bit. There we go.
Yeah.
If something looks like it's too bold, what I would do. Oh, one other thing that I did here, that's just kind of cool. Actually, I didn't do the cutout bit on this one. So I actually created this louvre. See the louvre there? I actually copied and pasted the louvre, and I used transparency on that. But what I did do was I created a layer. And the reason I did this was because I wanted to darken down this text a little bit, which I thought was too hot. So what I did was I came in here. Let me close up that layer. All right, and I'm going to create a new layer above that, if I can get it. I think we have just enough time to do this, and you get an idea why I did it. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the select, load selection, and load the bus wrap, hit OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my gradient tool. And there's my gradient. I created this gradient, which is basically just a dark, a light, and a dark. That's all it is. And what I did was I came in here and I applied the gradient to that layer right here. And I kind of went, this is going to be one of these things I'll either hit or I won't. That's not bad. Jesus Christ. I hit it the first time, I think. That's pretty good. Select, deselect. And then what I did with this was I came in here and I applied a blend mode to it. Darken. Let's see. Overlay. Multiply. Let's try multiply. Multiply is probably good. And what I did was I came in here and I just started to bring down
the opacity
on it. And when I bring it down until it's just kind of like a whisper. I just, you know what I mean? Just enough that it gives that light spot, puts emphasis on this area right here. And I have it set down to 43. I think I'm going to bring it down to about 33. 33 will probably do it. About 34 is where it is. So you see, watch. But it actually adds quite a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So now basically that would be my presentation. That's what I would do for my presentation. So, you know, I hope there's some stuff in there that I did that is new or something that you learned from it. But anyway, you got a bus. That's one thing, right?
Yep.
All right. So tomorrow night we'll be in here. If you want to come in, I'll work with you. I'll be happy to. Otherwise, I'll think of something else to do. And then I'm available on Wednesday. I'm not coming in Friday because Friday I'm not scheduled. But Saturday from 7 to 12 and Wednesday from 7 to 11.
Makes sense.
Okay?
Okay.
So are you good?
I'm good for now.
All right. So you think you'll be here tomorrow night?
Pretty much, yeah.
Great. Okay. I will see you then.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. You have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.